this on? Well, good morning, everybody. Excellent. Let me call us to order. Thank everyone for being here. A handful of quick reminders. Please speak into the microphones if you have one, but also be advised that they are extremely sensitive. And so whether you are speaking into it on purpose or not, it will pick things up and it will broadcast those through the live stream. The electronic materials can be accessed at the link printed at the top of the agenda. There's limited hard copy materials at seats. If you are a guest to the meeting, please be sure to sign in or email rsvp@georgiacourts.gov so we have a record for the minutes. This meeting is being recorded, audio and visual, live streamed, and is open to the press and the public. During voting items, I will call for opposition only. And I think the only voting item we have today is minutes, if that's what that says. So, we have a handful of members who are unable to attend, who have designees. Vice Chief Judge Elizabeth Gobeil is represented by Judge Mandy Mercier. Chief Judge Jack Niedrak is represented by Judge Scott Smith. Neither of them are unfamiliar to this group. Judge McCracken Poston from CJCJ is represented by designee Judge Allison Toller. Thank you, Judge Toller. And President Chris Twyman is unable to be here because we scheduled this at exactly the same time as they scheduled an executive committee meeting. And so he is chairing that. But both he and Damon Elmore made a point to reach out and communicate how much they've enjoyed being engaged here. I also want to recognize Chief Judge Frank O'Connell of the Georgia Tax Court. This is his first meeting of the Judicial Council as a member, and I'm going to administer the oath momentarily. But I want to make a special point of welcoming Judge O'Connell's wife, Sheila, and Judge O'Connell's friends, Mark and Tara Lukasik, here from Cape Coral, Florida. So thank you very much. Welcome. We're glad to have you with us. And with that, Judge O'Connell, it is time to administer you an oath. So if you will stand, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I do swear or affirm.
I do swear or affirm.
That I will faithfully and impartially.
That I will faithfully and impartially.
Discharge and perform.
Discharge and perform.
All the duties incumbent on me.
All the duties incumbent on me.
As a member of the Judicial Council of Georgia.
As a member of the Judicial Council of Georgia.
According to the best of my ability and understanding.
According to the best of my ability and understanding.
That as a member of the Judicial Council.
That as a member of the Judicial Council.
I will endeavor to improve.
I will endeavor to improve.
The administration of justice in this state.
The administration of justice in this state.
For the benefit of the public.
For the benefit of the public.
As well as the bench and the bar.
As well as the bench and the bar.
That I will strive to improve.
That I will strive to improve.
The judicial system of this state.
The judicial system of this state.
As a whole as well as in its parts.
As a whole as well as in its parts.
And that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Georgia.
And the Constitution of the State of Georgia.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll move on to roll call of Judicial Council members. And let me just start by observing that Presiding Justice Sarah Hawkins Warren is on her way from a medical appointment, and she'll just be a little bit late.
Okay. Chief Judge Brown.
Present.
Judge Mercier, thank you for joining us. Judge Hamrick.
Present.
Chief Judge Frank O'Connell.
Present.
Judge Hightower.
Present.
Judge Whitaker.
Present.
Judge Hubie.
Present.
Chief Judge Ernest.
Here.
Judge Godfrey.
Here.
Chief Judge Morris.
Present.
Chief Judge Glanville.
Present.
Chief Judge Wilson.
Present.
Chief Judge Scott Smith.
Present.
Judge Niedrick. Chief Judge Christopher Hughes.
Here.
Chief Judge Deal.
Here.
Chief Judge Jolly.
Here.
Chief Judge Sapp.
Here.
Judge Edline.
Here.
Chief Judge Harrison.
Here.
Judge Allison Toller.
Here.
Judge Scott Chastain.
Here.
Judge Patty Walters Lane.
I'm here.
Chief Judge Nathan Grantham.
Here.
Chief Judge Sean Rhodes.
Here.
Chief Judge Robert Cowan.
Here.
Chief Judge Norman Quadra.
Here.
And Christopher Twyman could not be with us today. We do have a quorum.
Very good. And with that, we will move into the Pledge of Allegiance, and for that, I will recognize Judge Scott Chastain.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to the approval of the minutes. You'll find the minutes under tab 1. And if you have had an opportunity to review, does anyone have any amendments to the minutes? Seeing none, is there any opposition to approving the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved. And with that, we will move into Judicial Council Committee reports. And let me ask Justice Verda Colvin come up and give us a report on the Access to Justice Committee.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I serve as the chair of the Judicial Council Committee on Access to Justice, and I've been in that role since my appointment in 2021. So I'd like to report out to you all what we've been working on and what we've been doing. But before I do that, I want to remind you of what you've received, which is the draft version of the the Guide for Judges Self-Help Toolkit. We are asking that you read this, review it, and let us know if you think we need to make any changes or edits, because once it goes into full print, it is printed. So we need you to check for, addresses, contact information, and if you have any edits, if you'll let Noel or either Tabitha Ponder know, we'll make those edits. Also, you will have in your packet, or you have at your desk, this map of Georgia. I'll be referring to some of these counties as I give you our report. So our mission for Access to Justice and our goal is to explore, implement, and improve efforts to ensure that all Georgians have access to justice. But that can only occur when every Georgian, regardless of income or zip code, can effectively gain access to our court system. As we know, there are many Georgians living in rural areas, and that is clear when we look at the number of lawyers by county. The last count in November 2023 by Georgia Legal Services found that we have 64 counties of our 159 counties that have 25 lawyers or less. Imagine the number of residents in those 64 counties who can't find an attorney, travel to see an attorney, or even afford an attorney. And of those 64 counties, 7 counties have not one single attorney. To address access, we have been working on several projects. Our Landlord-Tenant Committee Working Group, which includes Chief Judge Cassandra Kirk, Chief Judge Sean Rhodes, and Executive Director Tracy Johnson, in collaboration with the Georgia State University, they worked on the creation of statewide landlord-tenant webinars. This group submitted its final eviction forms to the Council of Magistrate Court Judges, and we are awaiting their final approval so that these forms can be used throughout the state, so that individuals who don't have representation can easily access the forms, understand the forms, and begin to truly access justice on their own regard. This will ensure that no matter where Georgians live, they can utilize simple, understandable forms to effectively access our courts. We have also realized and supported local level models to serve and assist self-represented litigants as they seek access to justice. The first one of these models, the Appalachian Family Law Information Center, was created by Chief Judge Brenda Weaver, and the Southwest Georgia Legal Self-Help Center, created by senior and former Judge Willie Lockett, are standing in the gap to assist the most vulnerable Georgians. As you know, some of you all may know, the Appalachian Help Center navigates civil matters and help people with divorce, child support, and all family law matters. The Southwest Center helps Georgians navigate a myriad of civil issues. They have been so effective that people come from the metropolitan area to seek assistance there. This ensures that so many more Georgians can resolve their legal issues. In addition to what they do to help, they also have had legal clinics, and people in the committee, we go down to help with these clinics to ensure that people can have access and know how to navigate our systems. We want more self-help centers, and in an effort to do that, we contracted with Carl Vinson Institute so that we can do a return on investment study to show the General Assembly that it was worth the investment. Unfortunately, because of the data that they kept that wasn't within the ballpark of what Carl Vinson needed. They were not able to come up with the ballpark figure for us to use to convince the General Assembly to fund 2 more self-help centers throughout the state of Georgia. But that doesn't stop our efforts. They gave us some ideas of how we could collect that data to better ensure that next time that we do a study, that we may be successful. But I'm hoping one day I can talk to the legislature. I think my passion can convince them, but that's just me. And so we truly think of every Georgian. In that effort, our Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group, led by Jana Edmondson Cooper, have created best practices for courts. So every court in our state has counter cards. These counter cards instruct on ADA required steps for Georgians who are deaf and hard of hearing. Our self-represented litigants forms working group continue to work on frequently used family law forms. They are translating the forms in plain language and creating videos to accompany the forms. The first set of forms is Divorce Without Children, along with a how-to video. These forms have been tested by both our self-help centers, and they're working well. So we await the final approval by the full Council of Superior Court Judges. Hint, hint, I need approval, okay? So our new working group, the Court Notices Working Group, has examined the best practices for gathering electronic contact information. This is phenomenal. We're working with Doug Amar with the Georgia Justice Project, and they have done a study of states that have done this, and it shows that the numbers of people who don't appear has been decreased drastically because they use cell numbers to actually remind people of their court appearances, because sometimes they've moved, they've located differently, the email doesn't work, but everybody has their cell phone. And so we're working with local law enforcement, particularly the metro areas first, to get them on board. And some of the sheriffs have said, okay, we'll do this. And so soon we hope to pull that off. The last project I'd like to tell you about is our kiosk project, and we're really excited about this. Georgia Legal Services has been awarded a grant that will allow the placement of kiosks in legal deserts. This kiosk will utilize AI, in a good way, to guide Georgians in filling out common forms needed to begin addressing their legal issues. We will actually put these kiosks in places where there will be individuals who can help them navigate the system if somehow they get hung up at some point during the kiosk. So we're talking with local libraries, we're talking with government offices and places that will allow us to do this and have someone on staff. The sites are confirmed are Albany and Lakeland. And Georgia Legal Services is also looking at Valdosta, which I've connected with them with people with the library services that they can actually get into one of the local libraries, Hancock County, and Clay and Randolph area. So they're going to have 6 kiosks that will be around the state, particularly in legal deserts. We continue, and this is really big now, we continue to urge courts throughout our state to welcome and in fact embrace Zoom hearings. I can't tell you how many lawyers, when I talk about access to justice and I go to the big firms in Atlanta, young lawyers come up and say, you know, we have to do pro bono. I'd love to help in some of these legal deserts, but I need Zoom. I can't go down there every time they have a hearing. So I want to say to my former Superior Court judge colleagues that I love and adore, I need for you all to talk to judges in these rural areas, and if your area is one of them, convince them to be willing to have some Zoom hearings, because we can get people to represent indigent folks if they don't have to travel every single time for a hearing. So let's try to do that. I mean, if we're truly guardians of justice, then we have that as a duty. So I'm thanking you in advance for your efforts in doing that. So I want to leave you with this quote. Justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are. I need you to be outraged. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Colvin, for both that report and the remarkable work that the committee is doing. You know, as a judicial system, we are all firmly committed to the rule of law. And as I like to say, the rule of law means that no one is above the law's requirements or beneath its protections. And access to justice is all about ensuring that we make that last part, no one beneath the law's protections, a reality. And we will never achieve perfection, but we can definitely do better. So, thank you. All right. And also, if you have a chance to look at this map, which really lays out geographically where these legal deserts are, it really is striking how much better we need to do. With that, we'll move on to the Legislation Committee, and I will provide that report. As you all know, the legislature has finished up a couple weeks ago. They adjourned sine die Thursday, April 2nd, the 40-day bill review period, during which the governor decides whether to sign or veto bills, runs through May 12th. The Legislation Committee held weekly calls each Friday, chaired by Presiding Justice Warren. We really appreciate everyone's participation and collaboration. Those helped us share information, gather feedback, and ensure we all stayed on the same page. And I was really impressed with how collaboratively, coherently, and cohesively the judicial branch worked together this session. We are all very appreciative to our bill sponsors and partners in the legislature for their support and advocacy for our judicial branch initiatives this year. This was the second year of the two-year biennium, and so everything that didn't pass starts over next year. But we actually got everything that we were doing done. It was a very, very successful year. And I want to start, and I'll also finish by recognizing the great work that Tracy Mason and her team, Abigail and Robbie, and others did on behalf of the Judicial Council and the judicial branch this year. Y'all have a great team working for you. First bill, I'll really defer to Justice LaGrua to talk about in more detail when she reports for the Judicial Security Committee, but judicial security bill that Representative Matt Reeves carried for us in the House, and then President Pro Tem Larry Walker carried in the Senate, and it wound up attached to a bunch of other things involving insurance, and I don't fully understand even what all those things did, but we don't need to worry about those because it was just the piece that we were trying to get. The piece I do want to spend a little bit more time talking about, because I think this is really critically important for the public trust and confidence of the judicial system, is House Resolution 251, which provides for nonpartisan elections for probate court judges. Y'all recall last year, we got the General Assembly to pass ordinary legislation, a bill, providing that magistrate court judges would be elected on a nonpartisan basis. But because of just some strange, aspects of the adoption of the 1983 Constitution, to do the same for probate court judges, who were the last remaining Georgia judges elected on a partisan basis, we had to pass a constitutional amendment. And that was challenging, and we ran into some problems last year, and we ran into a couple of hiccups this year as well. But it made it across the finish line, and I am just so appreciative of the great work by the probate judges and the magistrate court judges. It was a great team effort. Y'all really did us proud. Representative Kimberly New in the House, Senator Brian Strickland in the Senate carried that. A lot of support from leadership. And it ultimately passed overwhelmingly. And that will be on the ballot. The constitutional amendment will be on the ballot in November. And I very much hope that you will each communicate, ordinarily, we can't endorse candidates or legislation or things like that. This is one thing I am telling you it's okay to lobby your friends and neighbors to vote for. It is something we have taken a formal position on. And we very much need that to pass in November. So very good work to the probate judges and the magistrate judges, and we're really, really proud of that passing. House Bill 530, electronic filing in probate courts, that also passed, providing for e-filing in probate courts statewide effective January 1, 2029. Representative Rob Leverett carried that in the House, and Senator Brian Strickland in the Senate. House Bill 304, providing for senior municipal court judges, Representative Bill Yurda in the House and Senator Brian Strickland in the Senate. And then the General Assembly also passed legislation and appropriated funds for new Superior Court judgeships in the Middle Judicial Circuit, in the Gwinnett Judicial Circuit, and in the Northeastern Judicial Circuit. Interestingly, they also passed a bill creating new judgeships in Atlanta and Clayton, made those judgeships contingent on subject to appropriation, and did not appropriate, and so we'll see what happens with that next year. And I always hate to say this, but it is just part of the natural rhythm of things. We just finished And yet, we will start the process for next year's legislative cycle in June. So look for information to be sent out by Tracy Mason. And we continue to ask everyone to share information and legislative initiatives through the Judicial Council process, even if they seem to only affect one class of court, so we can speak with one voice and coordinate as the judicial branch. And please reach out to me, the presiding justice, Tracy, Abigail, with any questions or feedback. There's one other item I want to touch on briefly, because it was legislation that didn't pass but has since been effectively done anyway. Late in this, I authored a concurrence that was joined by 6 other justices a few weeks ago, pointing out serious problems with Georgia's post-conviction litigation system and urging the General Assembly to take action to correct those problems. In response to that concurrence, Chairman Stan Gunner, the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, Chairman Tyler Paul Smith, the chairman of the Non-Civil Judiciary Committee, Majority Leader Chuck F. Strachan, Representatives, I believe Esther Panish and Scott Holcomb, introduced a study committee resolution to create a study committee to look into that and to make recommendations to the House. The tradition at the General Assembly is they always do study committees essentially late on sine die, and the Rules Committee meeting that they held at about 11:15 p.m. on sine die to put the study committee resolutions on the agenda had a problem. They weren't able to print any of the things, and so they wound up not passing any study committee resolutions. And so the speaker announced that he would just create those himself. And yesterday, the speaker announced that he had created he created 7 study committees, and one of those is this study committee to study post-conviction litigation reform in this state. I think that is long overdue. I think it is really important. And there's a wide range of ways that could benefit the system and allow each of us to move cases more quickly and more efficiently. And we'll see how that goes. In the draft, there were at least a couple of judge positions on that committee. We'll see what the speaker does in terms of appointments, but just be looking for that. That's potentially a very significant thing for the future of post-conviction litigation in this state. All right, and with that, moving on. Any questions about any of those things? All right. With that, we will move on to the Budget Committee and Justice Charlie Bethel.
Thank you, Chief. I want to echo your comments as far as the Judicial Council's team and working with the legislature. It's always a pleasure. I'll particularly single out Andrew Zoll, who does great work for us in many respects, but really makes our work easy in the budgeting process. And of course, express thank yous to the appropriations staff in the House and in the Senate, and then at the Office of Planning and Budget, who also are skilled professionals who help us do our work more easily and efficiently. I am not going to give you a long, detailed report under my impression that you have the capacity to read. And the information that you want and the ones that are most important to you, you're going to find at tab 4 in your materials, and you don't have to look for the numbers that you don't care all that much about, and you'll be able to find the ones that you do. I make no representations about your math skills, but you don't need them a lot, even though it is a budget report. I do want to highlight a couple of items, Chief. We had, I think, a pretty successful year in the budgeting process. You will never hear me probably give a report that says we got everything we wanted. I don't think anybody does in the budgeting process, but we had a couple of items that I did want to highlight. We received significant support for the Georgia Case Management System. It was not the full ask, and we're working in that space to address those issues, but we feel very comfortable and appreciate the legislature's continued investment in that respect. Some long-awaited for support related to the Georgia Office of Dispute Resolution and the Institute of Continuing Judicial Education finally got some support, and we were certainly appreciative of that. One item that I'll note that I expect Judge Leonard may address in his remarks. In the process, there's always ideas that come up and conversations that come up, and in the way that we take on additional judicial seats, there was a lot of conversation, particularly on the Senate side, about what alternatives might exist. So we were asked in the budget process to collaborate with our folks across the street and talk about the JWAC process and maybe some alternatives. I am very comfortable and confident that as we engage on an educational process, that our friends will find that what we are doing is in fact what they're asking us to do, but we'll certainly be cooperative and work with them in that respect. And I'm not terribly worried about the request to engage on that front. The long and short of the budget process for us is that we have an increased request independent of the Georgia Tax Court budget, which we are administratively responsible for. We have an increased budget of a little over $1.8 million, which means in the fiscal year 27, come July, that will be just short of $29 million that will be under your collective stewardship. I'll bring your attention to the attachments that you'll find behind our report for some comparison numbers between 26 and 27, and then year-to-date information. And the last thing I will do in that respect is just note for staff, as much as anyone else, that we will promptly be getting you some information around our white paper timeline, because we already start thinking about next year as we just wrap up the current year. So that's my report. If you have any questions, I will either answer them or call up Andrew if they're hard.
Thank you, Justice Bethel. Any questions for Justice Bethel or for Andrew? Any questions about the math? All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
And thank you, Justice Bethel and Andrew, for y'all's leadership and support throughout the session on all things budget. Justice LaGrua, Judicial Security Committee.
Morning, Chief. Thank you very much. As the Chief Justice indicated a few minutes ago, House Bill 1344 passed. It has not yet been signed, is my understanding. As the Chief indicated, this is the size of the bill. Ours covers about 3 pages. It's section 14 at the very end. It is the last section of the bill. I'm going to just briefly give you an overview of what it did. It essentially redefined judge, former judge, and spouse, and made it easier to figure out who those folks were.
For purposes of personally identifiable information.
For purposes of personally identifiable information. This was the tweak to last year's personally identifiable information bill that was much more a standalone for security. This got tacked on to all kinds of other tax and title legislation. It also it gives you the opportunity, once you've asked for an agency to restrict your information, there is a process now to unrestrict your information or to authorize a third party to unrestrict your information. And it outlines the forms, and AOC has those forms, and your councils have those forms. They are not publicly on the AOC website. They are on council website for the reason that we don't want them publicly available so that the public can't get them and sign your name and go get your information. So that's why you need to go through your council to get the actual forms to submit to the government entities. The only one that is a little weird is the last section deals with title information and allows title attorneys, title agencies to access your information, but only after an affirmation representing that they are using such information in furtherance of providing title insurance. That is the only way, and they have to affirmatively represent that that's what they are doing if they ask for the information. The other thing to know that this bill tweaked was it added a section that said any agency that restricts your data is required to put a notice on the data that there is a restriction of whatever that data is. So if you go into the Secretary of State's website and they've restricted your home address, there will be some note that says home address restricted or information restricted. However, each agency will do that. Specifically as to the Secretary of State, you do need to file the paperwork to have your information restricted. As to the Ethics Division, it is my understanding from the director that if you click residential, it will automatically restrict your information, so you do not have to file any forms with the Ethics Division to do that. This statute does you no good if you don't use it. Is it 100% guaranteed to protect information that's out there in the clouds and the web? No, but if you don't ask for your information to be restricted at these different agencies, all the work that went into this by Cynthia and Tracy and Robbie and their whole team and our legislative team is for nothing. And the last time I checked, about 30 judges had utilized this, at least through, I believe, the Secretary of State's office. So y'all were screaming and yelling for us to get this done. We've gotten it done. Now go out and use it. Moving on to the second of three subjects to tell you about is we have been asking since the Chief Justice, then Presiding Justice, and Chief Justice Boggs formed this committee, for y'all to please let us know about threats that you get. We cannot collect data or get any kind of support and funding to protect judges if we don't have data to support what we're asking for. We have a dedicated email address. If any of you need it, let me know, but it is easy to remember, judicialthreats@gasupreme.gov. There is a form that goes with that email address. We have had a little bit of trouble, and I'm asking councils again to get this information out to your folks. Judges have heard about the email. They have not heard about the rules. The rules are there's a form to fill out about the threat. We will routinely get just forwarded stacks of emails from people or texts that judges are receiving with no context, no background information, and that's not what this is for. If it's a 911 situation, you call 911. If you've got a threat within your courthouse, call your sheriff. But we're trying to track data. We are not 911.
That's a really important point for everybody to be clear on.
We are fortunate that we have embedded at GSAC some people looking at things, and as we get these, if there's anything that needs to be looked at, we'll be reviewing them. May 12th, Georgia Public Safety Training Center Judicial Security Symposium. This is the third one that's been done. I was at the first one last year. This one will be different and much more robust than the first one. The morning piece will involve law behind the bench, and there will be a piece on the law for the sheriffs, the law for the judges, how they intersect. We will also have a panel with the judges, with the sheriffs, to discuss the interaction with those laws. The afternoon will be practical exercises. I encourage everybody to go. There are still open slots. We're open to at least 75 people. It's a really good presentation, and the Georgia Public Safety Training Center does a great job putting it on. Lastly, I'd like to thank my co-chair, Judge Rickman, who couldn't be here today, as well as Cynthia and Tracy and Robbie and all the folks at the AOC for all the support they give us. And thank you, Chief, for your continued confidence in allowing me to do this work. And I'll take any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Justice LaGrua? Let me just echo the point about the personally identifiable information. There's been a lot of work that's gone into making this process work. And if it's not something you're concerned about, that's fine. But if you don't want your information out there, the only way any of this actually works is if you take the affirmative steps to fill out the forms that you get from your counsel and submit them to the right places. And there are people who know how to do that if you have any questions. But if you've not done that yet and you do want your information to be secure, do that this next week. It's not hard. So, thank you very much for your leadership. Moving on to the ARPA Funding Committee, Judge Amanda Mercier.
All right, thank you, Chief. As you know, we are in the final performance period of the ARPA grant program. Current awards run from January 1st through September 30th of this year. As of April 10th, 2026, so just last week, over $73 million has been reimbursed for calendar years 2023 through 2025. The processing of the calendar year 2023-2025 reimbursements is expected to be complete by July 1st of 2026. And all these dates are very important for reasons that I will get to shortly. Following receipt of these reimbursement requests, all unspent funds have been returned to the committee, which means that there are, in fact, some leftover funds for a possible additional funding period. We would like to provide that one final, very limited funding opportunity for current grantees who may wish to utilize these remaining funds by September the 30th, 2026, but only for currently approved expenditures. Accordingly, the committee will receive an email about this funding opportunity next week, I would imagine sometime mid to late next week. Once the committee has acted, information about any additional funding will be shared with the current grantees. This final round of funding will continue in the same manner and the same processes already in place. Because the federal ARPA program is sunsetting on December the 31st, 2026, there are some very important reminders that we need to highlight, and this is where those dates come in very important. All funds awarded for calendar year 2026 must be both spent and invoiced by September the 30th, 2026, and invoiced. These invoices must be submitted for reimbursement by no later than October the 1st, 2026. And
Which is one day after the invoice deadline.
correct. And very importantly, funds spent, this is very important, please listen. Any funds spent after September the 30th, 2026 cannot be reimbursed. Likewise, any untimely requests for reimbursement cannot be considered. This allows the AOC ARPA staff the time they need to complete and close out the ARPA program in its entirety by the sunset date of December the 31st, 2026. The amount of work that they have put into this program over the last number of years is truly outstanding and time-consuming in ways that I can't even begin to describe. And so the time that they need, I know these dates sound harsh, but it's there to help them get all this information closed out so that we can properly comply. And finally, I think everyone should have received copies of the calendar 2024 audit results from the independent auditors. If not, I think letters, either they have gone out or are going out to those circuits with copies of their results. And there may be some additional requests from information that will need to be provided for the auditor. Not everyone will have those, but those that do will need to comply. And the response for that, if there are any additional requests or requirements from the auditor, is May 20th, 2026. All circuits, please also remember that you can monitor the status of all the things going on the dashboard, and don't hesitate to reach out to any of the ARPA staff with any questions or concerns. This has been a very complex process, but quite frankly, I think an extremely rewarding process. I'm truly grateful for the work of former Chief Justice Mike Boggs for really taking an extreme initiative in this to try to push this forward to help all of our courts from day one of the pandemic until now, getting us back to where we need to be. So our team is truly grateful for the cooperation and the support, and we continue to look forward to the last little bit of time we have on this project before we close it out.
Well, I want to echo those last words by Judge Mercier. I really am appreciative to the leadership and the vision that the former Chief Justice had, and Judge Mercier, who has been either the vice chair or the chair of the committee the entire time. She was not new to this process when she became chair, and I'm very appreciative to her for taking on this really complicated and deeply involved responsibility when Chief Justice Boggs retired. I know there were a lot of details and a lot of dates that were just thrown at y'all. We don't expect you to remember those. Once the ARPA committee formally acts on this final funding round, those of you who are existing grantees will get all of the information that you need, and so you can look for that then. So thank you very much. Any questions for Judge Mercier on her report? All right, very good, thank you. Let me next call Judge Steve Kelly up to the podium to report on the Technology Committee. I'm
Good morning.
surprised you have to do this, in person as opposed to like some avatar or something.
I just said that to Judge Leonard, but I said I didn't think that the Chief Justice would let me do that. If you'll give me permission, Mr. Luke, where are you? You're around here somewhere. So I said, we'll set it up.
If you can figure out how to make a hologram work.
We had when Justice Pinson couldn't go to the CTC, and we had our statewide AI committee, and we partnered with the National Center for State Courts. We used an avatar to moderate our panel, and the beauty of that is that we were able to write a script for the avatar, and it's not as magical as what a lot of people think and the way it appears, obviously, but I was able to have the avatar be very sassy. And so of course, the National Center for State Courts guy was a computer guy, and they had a lady from Washington, D.C. Courts. I was the only judge, and so then she took a few pot shots at judges, and which I wrote in there. But it was at 9 o'clock Thursday morning, toward the end of the conference, and I thought, this will wake them up. Who is this avatar taking a shot at a judge? So it was fun.
Can you
And I
hold
think
an
it helped them
avatar in
help.
contempt?
And I am, not everybody is excited about technology as I have been over the years, and I do appreciate the opportunity to lead the state in this committee and be able to receive reports from all the different areas of technology that are going on in our judiciary, which there's a lot. They're in our report in the manual. Today, I'd like just to focus in on that we, from the inaugural committee that we had on AI, which was a standing committee that sunsetted. We have got a subcommittee now of the judicial technology that will be handling AI, and Judge Kevin Morris, Alcobee Judicial Circuit, has agreed to chair that. I'm very thrilled with that. Also, Georgia Tech has agreed to partner with that in helping us. One of the, whether you love it or hate it, AI is here to stay. You use it every day, whether you like it. If you order an airline ticket, you're using AI. And it's just out there. And it offers all types of possibilities in the judiciary that are very, very exciting, of increased accountability, increased efficiency, increased accuracy to data. It also offers access to justice, which we've heard from Justice Colvin this morning, was the key. That's just the beginning of access to things it can do for access to justice on a positive side. Unfortunately, it also will scare you can put your own word in there. It will scare you to death because, how do you detect some of the stuff that goes on in AI? Cybersecurity fraud is just rampant. The bad guys are using AI to commit fraud. The FBI just issued a report last week, which was not encouraging. We have everybody's heard about the deep fakes. You have fake voices, fake digital documents. The voices and the avatars still don't blink right, and you can kind of still tell they're getting better and better. They're not quite there yet, but digital documents now, a creation of a document digitally, their experts cannot tell whether it's original or not, or fake or not. And that's concerning for us in the judiciary. That's why I'm excited that we're going to have AI. We're going to have judges and other professionals on this AI committee working, because one of the main jobs, we have, I think, over 1,600 judges in Georgia. And every one of them needs to be educated, whether they like it or not, about AI and some of the best, and what's out there, what some of the best practices are, what are some of the good tools. We've got AOC has created a web page just for this purpose out there. And of course, education of that many judges is a daunting task, but as I tell my folks in drug court, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so we're going back. Ben, Luke, and I are going to be speaking at the Probate Judges Conference in a few weeks on AI for 2 hours. Might just use an avatar. So if you hear about that, Chief Justice, just say, well, there's Kelly. But that's my report for the Technology Committee. And if you would like to serve, have a Zoom link. Most of the meetings will be by Zoom. So if you're interested in learning a little more about AI, want to serve on that committee, if you would, you could email Ben Luke or Kevin Morris, Judge Kevin Morris with the Alcovy Circuit, and they'll get you on that the link to that committee and its meetings. Any other questions?
Any questions for Judge Kelly? Well, Judge, thank you so much for your long-standing leadership on these issues, and that has become more and more critical the deeper into sort of this current generation of AI that we're dealing with. There's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of risk, and it seems like it changes every week. And so we really appreciate your focus and your work on this.
Thank you.
Judge Rob Leonard, Georgia Case Management System Committee.
Yeah, my brand of fun, and Judge Kelly's differ a hair. But look, I'll echo some of his comments before I get into my report. But it is scary. But I think you all everybody's got a duty to stay on top of it, and every lawyer does. And you get into the rules of professional conduct and whatnot. Right there at the very beginning is competence. And like he said, you're using it even when you don't know that you're using it. So you need to figure out and learn it and try to master it. Anyway, CMS. So it said 7 minutes on the agenda. I'm not going to use 7 minutes. I'm going to use 1. And hopefully I can reserve the other 6 and maybe give you all of the demo of the system next time if the chief will allow that sort of time commitment. So everything's going good. We're in year 2. It's feature upgrades and development, working on getting some pilot courts onboarded. Things are going well. Project is on time, on budget, and so forth. So everything's looking good with that. And I really do think y'all would enjoy seeing a little bit of it. So if I can, next time I'd like to give a little demo. I think that'd be helpful for everybody. There's a written report. Please review it. If you got any questions, I'm happy to address them. If you don't have any questions, I'll move on to JWAC.
Judge, that's a model report, right?
Okay, all right, good. All right. Good. All right, so judicial workload assessment is next. And so our next meeting is going to be in July. And we're going to discuss judgeships at that meeting. Right now, case count has concluded. We're in the quality assurance phase, so we'll be pointing out to different judicial circuits anomalies that we detect in their case count, ask them to take a look at it, take a deeper dive. We'll be digging into all those numbers. In our next meeting, we'll talk about that some more. As it relates to our policy, Justice Bethel mentioned it. We do have a policy that tries to objectively handle, how we recommend judgeships, dealing with the workload that comes in pursuant to the case counts. When the clerk's court give us that data, we run the numbers, and it's a pretty big policy. And so, this would really take about an hour and a half to probably educate everybody in this room on the way that it works. But if you're interested in it, just know that it is there. It's on the website. Go to the Judicial Council AOC website, go to the data section. You can find Judicial Council policy on workload assessment and the statistical guide for case counting. Those 2 documents really kind of are the life of how this works. And I want you to know that if you get any questions, particularly in the legislative session, if you get a question from a legislator or a staffer and you don't really know how to answer it, call me, and I'll walk you through it, and I won't make you read the whole thing. I'll try to help you understand it, so I can be a resource for you with that. If there are any questions about it, we've also got a written report in there. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to address those. Chief, anything else you think I need to hit?
So I do want to just add a couple words to that. Some of the questions that came up during the legislative process reflected, at least on the part of some legislators, a sense that our JWAC process provides for the automatic creation of new judgeships. And that really reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of how the JWAC process works. We don't create any judgeships. The creation of judgeships is exclusively and completely reserved to the legislature and the governor. All we do is we provide information and data. And the purpose of the JWAC process is to provide a non-political, data-driven, fact-based, here are the numbers. Now, that's not to say that we don't have an interest in it. I think we as judges all have an interest in the judicial system being sufficiently staffed. And in our circuits that are underjudged, we have an obligation to our judges and to the people that they serve to communicate, hey, we don't have enough judges to do the work that this circuit requires. And that is what the JWAC process exists to do. And we're going to continue doing that because that is an important, critical role that we do for the administration of justice in this state. But we don't create judgeships. And frankly, if I got to create judgeships, we'd create a heck of a lot more than 3. Because everybody on that list needs more judges. And some of them need more than 1. So, you know, it is a difficult process. I frankly am more proud of the process the way that it works now than the way that it used to work. Because the way that it used to work is the JWAC data-driven process would run its course, come back with here are the numbers, and then we'd have secret ballot votes after everybody came in to make their pitch about how we would order them. And then I would get questions from the governor's office and the legislature saying, why did y'all order things that way as opposed to just based on the data? And so under Chief Justice Boggs, we changed that process to be more data-driven. And I think that's an important thing for us to do. It's not us playing favorites based on who our friends are. It's not us picking or choosing based on policy. It's us simply saying, based on the best data that we have, these are the circuits that need new judgeships based on workload. And that is the best thing we can do to be good partners for the legislature and the governor's office to ensure that our circuits are sufficiently judged. I am really grateful to Judge Leonard and to the work of the JWAC committee. I am grateful to each of you for when you are trying to go through this process for doing your time and motion studies and to get as many of your judges to participate. Again, any data-based process is only as good as the quality of the data. And if it's garbage in, then it's garbage out. And so we are always working harder to try and improve the quality of that data. And a lot of that is just a function of, you know, clerks and judges participating fully in the process. But we have a good process. It yields good, accurate information based on the best we can do, and we're gonna keep doing that. So thank you very much.
Which brings me back to the other report, the CMS system, and when we get that going, that's going to help JWAC. So.
Yes, it will. So, all right. Any final questions about JWAC? All right. The next is Judicial Emergency Order Task Force, and you know, for a task force with the word emergency in it, it is not an emergency. It's just about emergency orders. It occurred to me when we were dealing with the most recent series of ice storms that there were a lot of conversations that I had with Chief Superior Court judges around how other Chief Superior Court judges were managing things, how county commissions were managing things, and various things to think about, particularly as we were anticipating significant impacts on infrastructure. And not just on roads, but on communications infrastructure. And there just were a lot of questions that came up and a lot of issues that had to be solved that I didn't, you know, that a number of folks were dealing with for the first time. And so you never want to have to wrestle with those in the middle of an emergency. You want to have a plan sitting on a shelf that all you have to do is take that off the shelf and open it up. And we did a lot of that work following COVID through Justice LaGrua's committee and other groups to identify best practices in the case of those sorts of emergencies. But the kind of emergencies that we dealt with this past winter were a different kind, and we don't really have something sitting on a shelf for that. And so I've put together a task force just to look at best practices and to get with emergency management agencies and county commissions and other key stakeholders to create some checklists and some model orders and things like that, so that when you as a chief judge are faced the next time with trying to figure out there's a hurricane headed this way, there's an ice storm headed this way, or some other thing like that, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so Judge Wade Padgett on the Court of Appeals is going to chair that, and we've got 5 chief Superior Court judges serving on that committee, and I'm just really grateful to those of you who've agreed to serve. You'll see the order behind tab 8, and I look forward to seeing the work product that comes back on that. Any questions about that? All right, very good. Committee on Court Interpreters, I think we have a written report in tab 9, and with that, I will call on Director Cynthia Clanton to provide her report from the Judicial Council AOC.
Justices, judges, and judicial branch leaders. With the weather in the mid-80s this week, it's hard to believe we all watched the Winter Olympics just over a month ago. Did you know that U.S. medal recipient Elena Myers-Taylor grew up in Douglasville? Yep, that's right. Superior Court Judge Jason Marbut spoke at the AOC All-Staff meeting last February about another gold medalist, American alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. Ms. Schifrin is famous for saying, "My task is to do the doing." Those words resonated with me because at the AOC, our task is to do the doing. In carrying out the policies and directives of the Judicial Council, and to support Georgia's judicial branch as a whole. Now, it's my pleasure to share a glimpse of our work supporting the judiciary over the last few months. But first, for a quick celebration. It's been hard to believe it's been over a year since the investiture of Chief Justice Peterson.
No, it's not.
And Presiding Justice Warren, which took place on April 1st, 2025. That's not a joke. Congratulations on all you've already accomplished in just 1 year of leadership. And a very warm welcome to Judge Frank O'Connell, who is serving in his new role as Chief Court Judge of the Georgia Tax Court. Judge O'Connell's term of office began on April 1st this year, and the tax court will start accepting petitions on July 1st. Our IT staff is busy supporting the new court's technical needs, and many other AOC staff members are helping support tax court operations. Welcome. Last Tuesday, the Justice Benham Community Service Award celebration was hosted at the Nathan Deal Judicial Center. It was inspiring to see Justice Benham and his wife at the event. One of the recipients this year was former Judicial Council Chair, past bar president, and UGA's superfan, Uga's daddy, Sonny Seiler. His daughter Swan was present to accept the award in his honor. Congratulations to all the deserving winners, including Chief Superior Court Judge Willie Lockett, who we've worked with quite a bit. Thank you, Carlise Greer, for another successful presentation of this very special award. On a more serious note, we all remain concerned about the recent fire that destroyed the historic Floyd County Courthouse in Rome, Georgia. That historic courthouse's proximity to the current courthouse temporarily disrupted court operations. I've offered encouragement to the Floyd Circuit Chief Superior Court Judge Frank Niedrich, who is a judicial counsel but not met with us today, as he moves forward after this heartbreaking event in his community. Justice Land presided over his first meeting as chair of the Judicial Council Standing Committee on Court Interpreters on March 20th. The AOC Office of Court Professionals remains steadfast in its support of his efforts to improve court interpreting throughout Georgia. The AI Subcommittee of the Judicial Council's Tech Committee, co-chaired by Judge Kevin Morris and Judge Stephen Kelly, held its inaugural meeting on March 13th. AOC staff for this subcommittee are fully engaged in supporting this exciting work. Since we last met, the 2026 Georgia legislative session came to a close when the General Assembly adjourned sine die on Thursday, April 2nd. Our hard-working legislation team, shown here, was up late as the legislature did not adjourn until approximately 1 a.m. And Tracy, I think you snapped this picture after it was over, but you were at a stoplight. You wanted to make sure I said that. Congratulations to all our partners for your legislative and budgetary successes. As we do each year, our legislative team will publish the enacted legislation report after the governor's signing deadline on May 12th. Council of Superior Court judges hosted a breakfast at the Capitol on February 17th, which the AOC staff attended. It was great to be with you and to support all your initiatives this year. Council of Municipal Court judges hosted their legislative day at the Capitol on March 23rd, and our staff helped to organize that effort with the judges, and were outside to ensure a very successful day. It was great. Coweta County Probate Court Judge Carrie Markham presided over her first meeting as chair of the Georgia Commission on Dispute Resolution in late February. At that meeting, Judge Markham was sworn in by Justice Ellington, who noted, "Our culture has created many substitutes for things like sugar and salt, but there are no substitutes for truth, honesty, and integrity, qualities that Judge Markham represents." In turn, Judge Markham noted the important mission of the commission includes supporting well-run local programs and ensuring ethical neutrals around the state, a goal that is good for courts and good for Georgians. Several AOC staff members gave presentations at that meeting, and our communications team ensured that it was live-streamed and photographed. Douglas County Superior Court Cynthia Adams' Robes Reading Across Georgia initiative has been going strong for 5 years and continues to grow. This year, 45 judges read to students in 32 schools statewide. A Clayton County school librarian noted, "We will definitely be signing up next year." I think our very own Judicial Council member, Atlanta Chief Judge Glanville, summed it up best when he said, "I had even more fun than the kids." Now, I want to brag just a moment. I am very, very proud of our smart and talented research and data staff who competed in the Data Analytics Olympics hosted by the Carl Vinson Institute at the University of Georgia. AOC team member Kate Heidenreich earned a bronze award for her submission highlighting the Judicial Council AOC's new dashboard for the annual Case Count project. This dashboard is part of the innovative work we do to support the JWAC committee each day, chaired by Judge Leonard. Congratulations, Kate and the team. The AOC communications team is working on special social media series in honor of America's 250th anniversary, and we'll be requesting each administrative judge to send us a picture of the U.S. flag flying in front of their courthouses. All other judges and courts are invited to participate, but at a minimum, we'd like one flag picture from each of Georgia's 10 judicial administrative districts. The AOC will post these patriotic shots on our social media feed and publications. Thank you again to all the judges who spoke recently at the AOC all-staff meetings including Cobb Superior Court Judge Jason Marbut, Fulton County Magistrate Court Judge Elizabeth George, and just yesterday, Judge Diane Besson from the Fulton County State Court Bench. We appreciate your thoughtful remarks, and we always love hearing directly from the judges we serve. Now, in the category of change, my mama told me that change is hard for everyone, except babies with a wet diaper. So buckle up when the new Georgia at Work system comes online. Yep, that's right. The state of Georgia changes to a new payroll and reimbursement system on July 1 called Georgia at Work. The AOC will use this system for HR, payroll, reimbursements, and procurement. State employees already using TeamWorks will automatically roll over to the new system, but there may be a couple of glitches. New vendors seeking payments between May and July will be affected. Please review the detailed memo under tab 10 in your materials and let me know if you have any questions. Now, speaking of babies, as is tradition, I am happy to welcome the newest members of our judicial branch family. First up, here we have Judge Clarence Cuthbert's granddaughter, Aria. She's so cute. Next, we've got Matthew Klober's very cool daughter, Penny, modeling a bib. Matthew works for the Supreme Court of Georgia and was formerly with the AOC. This photo is from statewide business court clerk Emily Youngo. Is Emily here? There you are. Oh, what a pretty baby, Emily. This is your adorable daughter, Daly Ann. Is that right? Yeah, she is a cutie. And finally, believe it or not, here's the newest member of my own family. This is my cousin's granddaughter, Annabelle, which makes her like my third cousin removed or something weird. Yeah, I know. So the AOC is a service agency for Georgia judges and a statewide resource. We exist to serve you, the members of the Judicial Council, and all our judicial partners. Please call on me and my hardworking team anytime to support everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Clanton, and thank you for the remarkable work that you and your team continues to do for Georgia's judiciary. Moving on to reports from courts and councils, the Supreme Court will rest on its written report. Chief Judge Trent Brown, Court of Appeals.
We will also rest on our written report.
I've always wondered what it means to rest on a report. I don't find them terribly restful. Judge Bill Hamrick, Statewide Business Court.
We will rest on our written report, but I know this is always perilous if you go beyond just that.
Please do.
We met Emily's baby just now, and I just wanted to mention again that she's our new clerk at the Statewide Business Court. A lot of you will be familiar with her. She worked for the Council of Superior Court Judges, and she worked with the Supreme Court. And I'm learning some inside information from the Supreme Court part of that.
Emily, we may have to talk.
It's been very beneficial to us at the business court, so please contact Emily if you need anything from us. We appreciate the governor appointing her to be our new clerk of court. Thank you.
Very good. Emily, welcome. We're delighted to have you back in the branch. And with that, I will call for the first time on Chief Judge Frank O'Connell of the Georgia Tax Court for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. I look forward to resting on a written report next time. But just briefly, this is my first new job after 23 years, and you can still get nervous even at 68. But I really appreciate your support, the support of the AOC and Cynthia's team. And to this point, of course, the court opens July 1st. I've already moved in and sharing office space with Judge O'Neill of the Tax Tribunal, which makes the transition quite a bit easier. I've got a committee that's helping me with court rule preparation, and hope to have a draft to submit for your review by the end of this month, and getting assistance from Senior Staff Attorney Heidi Fanza of the AOC. I've also met a few times with Ben Luke and his folks. The case management system will be ready to accommodate the tax court by July 1st. And I've interviewed folks for the positions that I'll have on the tax court. And this week, Cynthia informed me that I've been assigned to a few committees, so I look forward to participating and doing my part.
That is one of the challenges about being the only judge of a class of court. You can talk to Judge Bill Hamrick about that. He's on every committee as you are, and so we appreciate your service.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you. It is always a challenge to stand up a new class of court. But I know Judge Walt Davis doing that a few years ago with the business court has given us some he had to invent some wheels. Obviously, tax court is different, but hopefully that some of those blueprints will be helpful. So appreciate it. All right, Council Superior Court judges, Judge Dusty Hightower.
Sir, we will rest in our report.
Council State Court judges, Chief Judge Greg Sapp.
Nothing to add to our report.
Council Juvenile Court judges, Chief Judge Michelle Harrison.
We're going to stand on our report.
My goodness, getting out of hand now. Council Probate Court judges, Judge Scott Chastain.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, members of the council. It's customary that we say we stand on our written report, and I've heard we rest on it. But due to our recent success in the legislation, I feel like saying we're hovering over our written report today. It's been a very exciting time for all of us. I want to thank you, Chief, personally for your help, Justice Bethel, also for his help during this process. I want to thank the Council of Magistrate Judges for our 2-year collaboration in passing nonpartisan election in our class of court. I want to thank the AOC and this very council for the tremendous teamwork that it took in passing last year HB 426, this year HB 999 and HR 251. And finally, this being my last meeting, I want to express my gratitude for being able to serve on this council and let every one of you know that it's been an honor of mine to be able to serve. Thank you, Chief.
Well, thank you, Judge. And on the nonpartisan legislation, you know, when you step back and you think about the core responsibility of a judge, the core responsibility of a judge is to be impartial. And when you think about the root word of impartial and the root word of partisan, they seem awfully inconsistent with each other. And so I am very glad to finally be in a position to put that inconsistency behind us. So good work. Council Magistrate Court judges, Chief Judge Nathan Grantham.
We'll rest on our report. This is also my last meeting. I've enjoyed it, learned a lot. Ready to pass it on.
You all have day jobs in addition to this delightful responsibility. Council of Municipal Court judges, Chief Judge Robert Cowan.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Justice. I wanted to start off, we're going to incorporate our written report and add to it. So I want to start off by recognizing Judge Pamela Bowles from the Municipal Court of Canton. She is sitting back here and is our Vice President of our council, and I appreciate her joining us today. You mentioned House Bill 304, which creates our senior status for municipal court judges. It's going to be an invaluable asset to cities across the state. It also, though, House Bill 304 created, statutorily recognized the Council for Municipal Court Clerks. They really drove this legislation home. It was an honor to work with them. They worked really hard on it, and I appreciate that because we got to piggyback on what they did. And it goes without saying, and I'm sure it never gets tired, but I can't thank Tracy and Abigail and their whole team for all the work, advice, hand-holding, reminding me 1,000 times how things actually work. As opposed to what we thought, or I thought it worked. So I did want to thank everybody for that. I did want to also congratulate the Council for Superior Court judges. We learned this week that our great friend and all-time leader, Matt McCord, is going to be joining your ranks in the Griffin Circuit. He is an absolutely wonderful judge. He is a wonderful leader, and I know he'll make a wonderful Superior Court judge. I couldn't be prouder of him, and I look forward to seeing him here representing y'all at some point in the future. So last, I'm going to join the last two judges. This is my swan song as well. I want to take a minute to thank my executive liaison, LaShawn Murphy. I'm not sure that the world continues to rotate unless it calls on her to make sure that it's going in the right direction. She's absolutely brilliant and wonderful, and we couldn't do what we do without her. It has been my honor to represent my council of municipal court judges here. It is personally, I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to serve, and if there's anything I can do for the Judicial Council in the future, please call on me.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you for your service. In a minute, I'm going to get to present certificates of appreciation to those of you rolling off, and we'll get some photos, but we're not quite done yet. Council of Accountability Court Judges, we have a written report. I don't know if there's anyone from them who would like to say anything further. Fire away.
You're in luck. No. I'm Tom Cole. I'm a juvenile court judge from Chatham County, and I'm the chair of the Council of Accountability Court Judges. And yes, we would ask to stand on our report. And with your permission,
please,
very briefly, a note of thanks to AOC Director Cynthia Clanton, CJCC Director Jay Neal. CACJ is a shared services model, and so part of our work is done by the AOC and CJCC, and that enhances what we're able to do for Georgia's 190 juvenile, superior, and state court accountability courts, and help us achieve our mission of making accountability courts work for all Georgians. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you for all you do. Georgia Commission on Dispute Resolution, Judge Carrie Markham. While standing. Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism, Ms. Carlise Greer.
Good morning. We'll stand on our written report.
Thank you. I want to just echo what Cynthia said about the Benham Awards earlier this week. They were really delightful, and the recipients were all enormously deserving. And if you haven't had a chance to look that up, you should check it out. Georgia Council of Court Administrators, Timothy Ezel.
Good morning. We will stand on our written report.
Okay. Let's see, and Georgia Association of Juvenile Court Clerks, Renee Orr.
No, nothing from court.
No.
We'll stand on our written report. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Seeing none, we will tell you what. I've got this recognition of outgoing members next, but we'll do that after we adjourn, so as not to have everybody sit here while we do that. But when we adjourn, I would like Chief Judge Thomas Wilson, Judge Hightower, Chief Judge Sapp, Chief Judge Harrison, Judge Chastain, Chief Judge Grantham, Chief Judge Cowan, if we could meet up here, and the rest of y'all can just wait so I can acknowledge them properly in front of you all, but we'll take pictures one at a time. Next meeting is general session Friday, August 21st, here at the Deal Center. The rest of the 26 meeting schedules at the bottom of the agenda. The schedule for 27 has been set and is provided below. You will note we are planning only 3 meetings for 2027 as opposed to 4. The bylaws require 4 meetings, and so the court is going to amend the bylaws, and in fact voted yesterday to do that. And then I noticed we had a typo in the amendment that I had written, and so we're going to have to do it again in a couple weeks. But the 4th meeting that we've done the last few years has been in February, and squeezing that extra meeting in between December and April often makes that meeting just kind of a giant waste of time, and so we've done it by Zoom the last several years. And it just would make more sense to cut that meeting altogether. And if we have something that requires a meeting, we can always add it back. But I am a firm believer that having meetings for the sake of having meetings is not a good use of anyone's time much less this many judges who can actually be administering justice rather than sitting through a meeting. So that's why we're going to 3, and if we ever have a need to add one back, we'll definitely do that.
We can do it, yeah.
And with that, we are formally adjourned, but let's recognize our outgoing members, and then after we're done doing that, we're going to adjourn either to the terrace or the steps for a formal picture, I think. Bruce, do you have any direction for us on that?
Let's try the terrace one more time. We'll get discussing it right.
Okay, well, very good, very good. All right, with that, we're adjourned, and come on up.